Let's talk about the Venn diagram of aggression and anxiety. Thank you so much to this commenter for giving us the opportunity to talk about this. This question was left on a video talking about our new webinar series that launches in just a couple weeks, the Behavior Bites webinar trio. These three 90-minute live webinars will each dive into one of the three pillars of behavior therapy. And so this question is asking, is this more from an angle of how stress applies to dogs with aggression, or does it also apply to dogs with anxiety and panic attacks and nervous system dysregulation? And so I'm so excited for the opportunity to talk about how these are not necessarily different things. So the short answer is yes, this webinar series will be helpful to anyone who is dealing with behavior concerns with their dog, whether they are experiencing aggressive behavior with or without dysregulation, dysregulation with or without aggressive behavior, or a behavior concern that doesn't involve dysregulation or aggressive behavior. The pillars of behavior therapy will remain the same. And so if someone is having behavior concerns with their dog, regardless of what that behavior concern is, this webinar series, I believe, will be invaluable. This is such a good question. I also really want to dive into that Venn diagram of anxiety and aggressive behavior. So I specialize in working with aggressive behavior and nervous system dysregulation. So in this context, nervous system dysregulation is referring to dogs whose baseline stress levels are set higher than is healthy or ideal, which typically results in behavior concerns. So the behavior is a symptom of that dysregulation. These dogs also often struggle to cope in ways that are helpful to them, to self-regulate in ways that serve to lower their stress levels, and they often struggle with resilience to stress or bouncing back from stress events. And so if behavior concerns are a symptom of the dysregulation, one of those potential behavior concerns can be aggressive behavior. So most of my client population is dysregulated, and some of them display aggressive behavior as a symptom of that. And dysregulation often has many labels. That includes anxiety disorders, trauma disorders. It can be the result of chronic stress. Hyperarousal is another one, or hypoarousal. And so aggressive behavior is just the fight response. There's also the flight response, which might be where we're seeing trying to run, escape, hide. It could also be fawn, fidget, or freeze responses. And sometimes the same dog will display two or more of those survival responses due to the same underlying feeling and the same level of stress, just dependent on the context of what is happening. So for example, you might have a dog who shows a fight response when they feel socially supported by their human in the vet's office, and then when they're taken away from their human and they don't have that safety anymore, and now they're in the back of the exam room or in the back of the vet's office surrounded by strangers and all of these slippery floors and slippery tables, etc., they go into a freeze response, which actually tends to be associated with a higher level of stress than that fight response. But my point is that both of those dogs, or that same dog in both contexts, are in the red zone, and they're being fueled by anxiety. Those high stress levels are being fueled by anxiety and fear. But the survival response is different depending on the context. And humans are like this too. We make subconscious decisions very quickly. Is my safest way out of this to fight, to flight, to people please, to fool around and try to be silly and break the tension, to totally dissociate? Same thing. And so whether you have a dog who is dysregulated and displaying aggressive behavior, or a dog who is dysregulated and not displaying aggressive behavior, or if you have a dog who is displaying aggressive behavior and is or isn't dysregulated, or if you're dealing with behavior concerns that don't involve dysregulation or aggressive behavior, this webinar series will be helpful to you. And anyone who has any questions, of course, can leave them here. Thank you again so much to this commenter for the opportunity to talk about the webinar series and about that Venn diagram of anxiety and aggression. And so I would love to answer more questions here, or you're always welcome to send me an email.